Welcome into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik.
You were playing everybody and we're winning the game last night.
The head coach is fighting people on the sidelines.
What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of the Tight Pants Society.
No f***ing play is that a gimme, right?
Let's go! Welcome into the very first playoff edition of Gas. I know that we have had Celtics playoffs and we've had other playoffs, but there's nothing like the pro football playoffs where the New England Patriots will be taking on the LA Chargers on Sunday Night Football, where it'll be nice and cold in Gillette Stadium. We got picks for you. We got breakdown for you. Jason Anik, good morning. You have a giant grin on your face.
Well, you know, you just said Chargers, right? And we get a lot of different accents from Andrew Gresh III. We don't often get the Boston accent out of you, right? We get Bob Kraft. We get all sorts of different dialects out of you. We've even got Khabib Nurmagomedov this year, but we haven't gotten the Boston one. I like the Chargers. Chargers coming to Foxborough. I'm so fired up, Gresh. Excited to talk to you. Lot to get into with the NFL. And you know, this show is really heavy NFL, but what I always love and hate about the NFL is that all of a sudden you blink and it's over, right? So yeah, playoffs are excited, right? Going to be over for a lot of teams this weekend, hopefully not for the Patriots.
Yeah, I think the Patriots will be okay. We're going to peel apart all of these games. We'll give you picks on each game as well. Apologize for the Thursday broadcast today. I mean, my internet was jacked up for 2 days. My father-in-law had surgery on Monday. We were kind of getting through that. It's more getting my wife through that, right? Like, my father-in-law is 82, but he played in the NFL and stuff like that. So he's always been really active. And when the surgeon comes in after he gets his shoulder replaced and they go, and they say to my wife, yeah, is your dad active? His bones and muscles are pretty good. And they're like, oh yeah, in the 60s and 70s, he played in the NFL and all that and was competitive or whatnot. So they're like slicing this old man open and they're like, wow, it's not like a tree. You know what I mean? So
right.
It's pretty badass. He's hurting right now. That's a big to-do. I haven't had it checked, but he and I had the exact same issues in our shoulder. Like if I rotate it a certain way, my shoulder, Jay, will click. When I can feel it click, like that's probably pretty bad. Yeah, but I don't know if I want to, I'm only 51, but I don't know if I want to go through that. It's pretty harrowing. Like it's not a massive scar, but to hear that it's like, oh yeah, they're going to put this ball in there and you got to hold your arm still for 8 weeks. It's pretty rough.
Wow.
And people, and Jay, for many different things, some people can't go left, like they can only go right. So if you get your right shoulder operated on, you're heavy right-handed, you better have a bidet.
Oh, God.
I know you don't even think about that stuff until you have to think about that stuff. But anyway.
Well, I hope your shoulder's okay. And one thing I just want to do real quick, if you would just allow me to, because I know it's going to be all football, but I got to talk about the Boston Celtics real quick. And our producer in the back, Cody Merrow, who's from New Hampshire, I've known Cody for 3 or 4 years, and he's a Red Sox fan, he's a Patriots fan, he's a Bruins fan, and he's a LeBron James fan. He's not a Celtics fan. So at the helm, I didn't know if you didn't know that, Gresh. So at the helm of this program, I know Cody. Every time I say Celtics, I'm like, oh, well, Cody might not like it. But I just got to shout out my guy, Joe Mazzulla, right? I know they lost to the Nuggets last night, but this Celtics team, right? I mean, they're flirting with the number 2 seed. They're third in the East, third best point differential in the whole league. I just can't say enough. I think Tatum's going to come back. It's so easy to root for this organization, and I'm so privileged to do so.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think Jaylen Brown's got a low-key MVP case right now. He's
50 to 1 or whatever.
He's been fantastic this year, and I think because they've been in third place, meaning the Celtics, and they've been hanging around the Knicks for the division, I mean, almost halfway through the year. Jay, you and I talked about how Brad Stevens didn't just punt on the season. It didn't become, well, we got to liquidate assets and we don't have Tatum, so screw it, let's not try, which, some teams in the NBA have done. They've just said to their fans, hey, listen, our star's hurt for a year. We're just going to eat shit and then we'll reload. Brad Stevens wasn't thinking that way. He still has Simons as a trade chip. And the closer we get to the return of Jay Tatum, I wonder what Brad Stevens could be cooking up. I know he's got this center. I don't know if you've seen this kid up in Maine.
Yes.
Yeah, the 6'11 center. I mean, he's a brick shithouse, number one. And he's average. I mean, he's like, I saw highlights the other night where he's running the floor. He's passing the ball out of the post and stuff like that. I always wonder what Brad Stevens is cooking up. And
well, right. And you pluck that kid and Hugo Gonzalez out of that draft?
Yeah, exactly. And Jay, and you think about the trade that will eventually be made because somebody's going to want Simons. I just think Brad Stevens is lying in the weeds, bro. And you and I are on it right now. We're among the first that are on it in terms of this season is not over for the Celtics by any shot.
Well, you know, and when they retain, I mean, there was actually talk of Jaylen Brown being traded in the offseason, probably not in the organization, but even rumblings outside of it. You know what I mean? Where people are like, oh, well, or can they get another one? And I believe the organization was always steadfast about building around these two guys continually. And look at Jaylen Brown now. And I think we all felt like if they traded Derek White, that truly meant a reset. And if they didn't, that was that sort of piece. And all the pieces they moved, I think we felt were expendable. And I can't wait to see it. I mean, the Knicks do scare me, but I think the Celtics going to scare the Knicks too.
Oh, I totally agree. And again, Tatum's gonna be back at some point. So you don't know what you're going to get, but that's somebody who can no question shake it up. And Jay, you know, you mentioned Joe Mazzulla. Right now, he's got to be the leading candidate for Coach of the Year. You take away an all NBA player, and you're still almost leading the division. I mean, I don't think there really is I know the guy in Oklahoma City has done a great job of stacking up another really good year after winning a championship, but normally it goes to who does more with less. And right now, no one is doing more with less than Joe Mazzulla.
Well, you know, and it was a tough start and there were some growing pains, but it is just, you know, you hear Joe Mazzulla on the microphone and he gives a lot of great quotes, a lot of funny quotes. His perspective is unique, but anyone who would question that he is so embedded in the day-to-day job of being the best he can be as the Boston Celtics head coach, the best for each individual player, both personally and professionally. And it's just, the proof is in the pudding. I'm blown away by this guy. And I think his focus is truly unique. You talk about distractions. I can't even imagine Joe Mazzulla getting distracted from the job at hand if he tried. It's almost impossible for this guy to get distracted. It's barely possible for him to smile midseason.
No, very much so. And you have to have a head coach who is locked in like that when you don't have one of your best players to be able to be playing. They're 10 games above 500 right now at 23-13. When you look overall, now the Pistons and Cade Cunningham have kind of distanced everybody else, right? So the way Cleveland was last year, running out in front of everyone in the conference, now it's just Detroit. It's just a different name, in my opinion. And then you go Knicks Celtics, and I'll tell you, Jay, the thing that has caught me off guard, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention, is the rise of the Toronto Raptors. You know, like that's a team coming up from underneath with the Celtics in the division where you're like, wait a minute, where in the world did they come from? Philadelphia is just Philadelphia. It feels like they have Embiid, and if everybody is healthy, Philadelphia can win at a high level. If they have one piece missing, they're going to fall apart in the first round. Cade Cunningham is a dude, and that's a guy that, you know, like you and I, Jay, are of a certain age where you remember when the Pistons in the heyday with the bad boys and they beat the Celtics and then the Bulls beat them. You know, I think Detroit and Boston, there's going to be a lot of playoff cross-pollination for probably the next half decade or so with some of the youngs and the studs. And Orlando hasn't popped off yet. I don't know what you're hearing down there in that whole, you know, Miami, Orlando area, but you know, the Heat feel like they're kind of hanging around, and I feel like the Magic right now, at only 4 games over 500, are kind of underachieving a little bit, given the investment that was made by ownership in that franchise.
Well, when you talk about the health of Philadelphia, and I think it's a really good point. And ultimately, even you look at Denver Nuggets with Jokic, I know it's a temporary injury and he'll be back, but I do believe, this league, the season's too long for me. I don't have the appetite for every moment of the NBA regular season.
Agreed.
So ultimately for me, as these teams get healthier and as we transition to the NFL, you think about there's so much parity in the NFL this year, possibly more than ever. The NBA, especially in this Eastern Conference, I think could be very wide open as we get toward the spring and summer months.
Yeah, and I think Cody threw in our chat, I don't think players even give an F until after the All-Star break. There definitely is some of that. There are dudes who definitely pace themselves. And
Jaylen Brown gives a fuck. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's true. No, it's very true. Well, Jaylen Brown knows that this will be the season that people will look back on, and whenever there are questions of, boy, how good was Jaylen Brown, because we know, or at least feel, Jason Tatum is up here, Jaylen Brown can kind of say, yeah, look at the season I had when I had 60 games of being the guy, which he is right now.
And dude, he talks about being a two-way player. Couldn't be more truth to that. You think he's a max player? I do. And his free throw shooting, which always irked me a little bit, he's improved that. His handles, gosh, you look back at his handle early in his career, it's a whole different dude with the basketball in his hand.
I'll tell you what it is, Jay, at least for me anyway. Jaylen Brown is not perfect, right? And I think we understand that, but he works at it. Like, it might be slow improvement and people laugh at the whole dribbling in the pool and all that kind of stuff. The guy's put in the work. Like, even if he only gets incrementally better, I appreciate the effort that Jaylen Brown puts in the offseason to try to be better, to try to get better at certain things that he hears. He's not deaf. And no, I got a lot of respect for Jaylen Brown, the basketball player. And you're right. Do I want him at the free throw line, with the game on the line necessarily? No, but I'll tell you what. But if it's an open set late in the game and that guy can get to the rim, I want that explosiveness going to the hole, even though he might get hacked and sent. That's the good of Jaylen Brown, because if somebody doesn't get in his way, he's so goddamn athletic, he'll just ram that thing home. So sometimes he does play to contact because he is pretty good off the dribble drive. Got me all fired up on the Celtics.
I love it. Well, and he's got a ring in his pocket too. And so before we get into these topics, college football playoff, pretty fascinating for me. Not a huge college football fan. Live down here. A lot of the Dirty Boxing folks, for those of you who don't know, I work for Dirty Boxing. A lot of the Dirty Boxing brethren are huge University of Miami fans. The first round management, they rep a lot of the guys down there. So I'm certainly rooting for Miami. Any quick thoughts on a couple college football games starting tonight?
Well, I got to say, I was wrong on Georgia, and it kind of shocked me that Ole Miss was able to put together a second performance, given all the chaos going on around their program. I'm still one of those who looks at Miami and feels like that's your 12 or 13 seed Cinderella in the men's basketball tournament. Like, I probably should believe more in them. But I kind of think they're going to go to the national championship game, because now I really, truly do think they're catching Ole Miss in a very chaotic spot. Only the OC could come back. So, you're down position coaches. You just got a lot of routine things that are now different at Ole Miss. And I wonder if it catches up to them. Indiana and Oregon's going to be, that's the real national title game, in my opinion, Indiana and Oregon. And the more that I think about Coach Cignetti, when he's at the press conference, pretty simple. I win. Google me. That is one of the most badass lines a coach has ever rolled out. And he's now followed it up, and they hit him with the whole, this is the most winning team in Indiana history. He's like, not bad. And then walks away. I just love the guy. I love Dan Lanning too. He's a different kind of dude. Cignetti is more of the silent killer, whereas Dan Lanning is the kind of guy who will put you in a headlock and give you a bulldog, and the next thing you know, you got a concussion. But they can both coach. They're both loaded with talent. I just think Indiana wins that Cignetti discipline drips all over that football team right now.
So the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick in the NFL.
Yes, they do.
Is that accurate? So
correct.
Are you thinking they take a quarterback from this game?
Oh, 100%. I think they're taking Fernando Mendoza. I think it's already over with. Just real quick, I'll tell you why. Mendoza isn't about being the fastest. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He doesn't have the most athleticism, but he wins with his brain. Jay, who does that sound like?
The opposite of Jamarcus Russell. Go ahead.
But to your point, you know what that kind of sounds like? The way we would have profiled the partial owner of the now Las Vegas Raiders, Tom Brady, right? He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the fastest. He didn't have the biggest arm. But boy, oh boy, that we know that guy could go because he's up here. And to me, that's Fernando Mendoza. Brady and Mendoza, I think, are really going to connect when they get through this pre-draft process because they're both, they're both film humps, just to be honest about it. So, and you could see Mendoza's the big favorite. Now, maybe Dante Moore has an unbelievable performance. I just think regardless of what happens in that game at the end of the day, Brady and Mendoza are going to connect through the draft process, and Mendoza ends up a Raider and reignites that city. He's quite a personality, to say the least.
I like it. All right, let's get into topics here. Gresh, I'm so excited to talk to you about playoff football, and I'm most excited to find out really sort of who you like to come through this tournament that is the NFL postseason, and really the Patriots, to get your feel on the Patriots. You've seen on this show before when you pick the Patriots as double-digit favorites in certain spots, how excited I get, or even if you pick the Patriots against the spread. And gosh, Gresh, if I had $1 for everybody that wants to fucking talk to me about this soft Patriots schedule and nothing else, right? It's like, oh, don't even get me started. But anyway, took care of the Dolphins, right?
The Dolphins are who we thought they were. They're cold weather pussies. They always have been. They always will be. Ooh, but they had a coach who was with Sean McVay. Everybody goes, he got fired today. Good, because when you go 0-8 in the cold and you're in the AFC East, you're doing it wrong. My thoughts on Mike McDaniel, but it was exactly what I thought it would be. The Dolphins had nothing. Ramondre was great. Your boy Bill Campbell was back. Did you see him knocking a couple of people on their ass? That guy was fired up in the final regular season game.
Did you hear his words about Mike Vrabel?
Yes,
I did. For those that didn't catch it, Will Campbell just, in a very genuine state of mind, said he's having more fun playing football than he ever has before. And that he wouldn't want to play for any other coach. And it's not hyperbole. He's not, he's a rookie saying this because I think Mike Vrabel has had a profound impact on these guys. And to hear Will Campbell say fun, right? When the Patriots took a lot of criticism over the year for maybe putting in the work, but not mixing in the fun. Maybe that's the perfect thing that we've been talking about with how Vrabel has all the things Belichick didn't. And maybe the best way to sum it up is fun.
Well, I'll tell you this too. I think winning is fun, and that makes it a lot easier. I know that our preseason prediction was 10-7, but when you go 14-3 and you're flirting around with a number 1 seed, how can it be? I mean, but I think Vrabel, to your point, is a big part of it. Did you see Vrabel telling Steph? I can't remember if it was in our string or not. Telling Steph Diggs to shut the F up on the sidelines.
Yep.
Diggs comes over and he tells you, block it. He's like, you need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And Diggs smiled and put his arm around Vrabel. Jay, Vrabel was respected by his teammates because he would say anything, he would do anything. Like, he was one of those kind of guys. Like, he would give Belichick all kinds of hell and stuff like that. And I think that part of Mike Vrabel still comes out as a head coach. He's in control, but the dude, Mike Vrabel, who was a football player, still comes out, and I think it really connects with those guys.
100%. He's the fucking boss. He's the coach, and they want to be coached. And, right, Stephon Diggs probably gets a little bit of sense from Mike Vrabel that, we're going to fucking do this thing with or without you, Diggsy. With or without you, buddy. You know what I mean? And you stay in your place. And that can be very, I think, freeing as a player in a lot of ways to have someone leading you in that way, right? I really believe that, right? I think having Tom Brady's leadership for offensive players that played in that system, I think that had to, you can imagine how much easier that made their jobs, right? Don't get it confused. Belichick wasn't leading that offense, but I think these guys are just in a really unique situation in year 1 of this era. It's just unbelievable.
Well, I also think, too, that it goes to show that just having player credibility doesn't always turn into either success or a football team of men who want to be led by you. And what a difference between Gerard Mayo and the way he thought about connecting with players and Mike Vrabel. They both played. They both got rings. They kind of have the same credibility in a lot of ways. The difference is Vrabel's kind of figured out how to work that into being a head coach and not having it just define him the road kind of Mayo was going down, where what defined him as a coach, it was, kind of not really having a handle on the players, whereas Vrabel does.
Well, yeah, and Vrabel, you're going to like Vrabel because you're going to like his genuine, authentic self, right? Someone walks in late to a meeting, Gerard Mayo, you know what I mean? How he going to handle it? Vrabel going to tell you, get the fuck out of here, no matter who you are.
There you go. You're right. You're right, brother. And look, that's been, and I know that you and I have gone back and forth on Drake May and stuff like that. Liam Cohen's done a great job in Jacksonville, but I think because it was only just a couple of years ago that Belichick had led the team to the playoffs with Mac Jones, we hadn't completely forgotten about what a high standard looked like, whereas Jacksonville never really had one. You know what I mean? And I think the fact that Vrabel has come in here and has reset the standard way close to where it was when they were winning versus kind of what was going on at the end of Bill and then the 1 year of Mayo, that to me should give him the coach of the year. I don't think there has been anybody in the NFL, coach or player, who has had as big an impact on their football team as Mike Vrabel has. He's made all of us believe again. He's gotten the players to believe again. But maybe more importantly, Jay, he got the organization to believe again, because I think that for some it was, oh, man, this is slipping away, and we're going back to 1989 again.
There have been a lot of coaches that have done great jobs this season. Mike Vrabel has just been absolutely masterful. And it's also been an enormous undertaking for Mike Vrabel as well in his first season. Let's not forget, that this guy, was with Cleveland last year as a consultant, and just the way things have flipped, it really is profound. And as we get into games and talk about them, I look forward to talking about the Patriots game, but I believe this team to be a true contender right now in this tournament. And, to say that in year one, right? And look, I hate the whole idea, if they could just win one playoff game, it'd be a great year. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? And nobody in that locker room wants to hear it. I really look forward to talking about these games.
No, and here's just real quickly on the, like the feel is back around here, like the buzz is back. I don't want to say people are ignoring the Celtics or the Bruins, but it's not even close. I mean, when the Patriots are right, they still own and dominate the region. And I think playoff, people will still remember how to act accordingly in the playoffs and cheer and boo at the right time and all that kind of stuff. But they're probably going to go to the AFC Championship game. And if you're one of the Final Four, you're a contender, whether people believe in you or not. If you're, and I know we can probably say in the AFC, there's a couple of teams that you would look at, like Denver is in the New England spot where you would expect them to be in an AFC title game. If you're Buffalo, you're hoping you're getting there. I don't think Pittsburgh or Jacksonville or LA are really expecting to be in a conference championship game. So I'm with you. Even as we kind of narrow it down, the fact that Buffalo is the 6 is great for New England, because if they win, they're still the lowest seed and they're going to go to Denver. So, let Denver deal with them.
Unless the Chargers beat New England, but yes.
Well, yeah, okay. You're right. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. And you mentioned Cleveland and Vrabel being there last year. Boy, oh boy, now that they got rid of Stefanski, I wonder if they're sitting there saying, God damn, why'd we let him out of the henhouse?
Yeah, well, and when you see all these coaches getting fired, and even a guy like Mike McDaniel getting fired down here in Miami, and you think about these replacements that are on the market, right? Even when you look at Brian Schottenheimer in Dallas, right? Oh, okay, pretty good year on offense. Let me know after next year when he gets fired. Like, it's like, who do you want long-term? We know Vrabel probably going to be in New England for quite some time here, right? So a lot of these guys that are being moved on from, I'm very curious who their replacements are going to be, because I don't see some incredible candidates out there. You and I had a text exchange. I put out a tweet about John Harbaugh at 63 years old. For me, he just doesn't have as much juice, frankly, in my opinion. I don't think he can walk in and command a locker room quite like Mike Vrabel. So it's just fascinating for me. But what I will say is, you bring up Kevin Stefanski, of all the guys that were fired, right? And the list is Harbaugh, Gannon in Arizona, Pete Carroll, Raheem Morris with the Falcons, Dable, which was earlier with the Giants, Callahan with the Titans, and then McDaniel here. For me, Stefanski would be the one guy fired that I'd be looking closest at if I were one of these other teams.
Well, I would say Stefanski and Harbaugh are probably going to end up they're both going to get hired pretty quick. And my antenna is up in Miami only because, like, Harbaugh got let go. It's interesting. The agent said 7 teams called, but there was only 6 openings. And then now Miami's open. So just to my antennas up on that a little bit. Could there be you just take somebody, one of the next in line guy when it comes to the Ravens, who have normally done a pretty good job in drafting, and the next thing you know, Miami kind of goes with a Raven-like reboot down there. I don't know. My antenna's up on that. But, Jay, some of the people who didn't get fired, oh, what a boom for New England. Aaron Glenn is still the Jets coach. Zach Taylor is still the Cincy coach. Everybody talks about Zach Taylor being great on offense. He can't scheme up a goddamn O-line, gets his QB killed every year, and he's supposed to be I'm sorry, you can have the greatest quarterback ever, but if you can't protect him, then you're not worth your salt. I thought McDaniel was going to be the dopey keep over, so Miami, took themselves off the list of thank you, New England. But even just, the Jets and Cincinnati kind of keeping everything together, maybe Aaron Rodgers is going to come back another year in Pittsburgh. That would be a good thing for New England, I think. So it was pretty interesting. Some of the moves, Jay, that weren't made that you probably could have justified making in this moment, but I think it still gives New England a massive advantage because these people are still in place.
Well, and you think the Jets, if you look at the AFC East, you certainly think the Jets are probably next year's got to be another tank and sort of a rebuild for that team, regardless of who's coaching it. But that Miami job, who would want to enter this division with Josh Allen and Drake May? I would not have that. Miami job right now wouldn't be too appealing to me. If I were one of these guys out here, though, that Giants job is interesting. I don't know how in love with Jackson Dart I am. I like him quite a bit. I think I really do believe in him, but I really like a lot of those pieces. The Big Apple would be really appealing to me if I were one of these dudes.
If Stefanski doesn't go to Vegas, I think he ends up with the Giants, because the Giants will look at Stefanski and say, all right, look at the quarterback. The guy's a 2-time coach of the year. For as much as I make fun of Cleveland, look at the quarterbacks this guy's dealt with. Look at the mess that he handled. He knows it's going to be Jackson Dart for the next couple of years. And Jay, I'm with you. I don't think I love Jackson Dart, but the Giants, unless they just go Dante Moore and go for a quarterback at the top of the draft again, which would feels like the Giants are the one team that maybe is going to trade down and get some extra assets and try to work around Dart versus maybe trying to find someone to replace him and resetting the whole thing. But yeah, Stefanski probably got, I would say Harbaugh and Stefanski are in a race to see who gets hired first.
It's really interesting. A lot of these coaches, and Mike Vrabel is no exception. Mike Vrabel, that New England job, the number one reason he took it was Drake May. There are a lot of other reasons. The number one reason was Drake May. So it'd be interesting to see what these guys feel about Mendoza, if he is that number one, in terms of that Raiders job, how much they actually like Mendoza. What's interesting to me, too, is a guy like Brian Flores, right, who's certainly more in that Mike Vrabel, Mike McDonald category where they're not these offensive guys. Like, if you're the Raiders, does the head football coach have to be a guy that's going to work with Mendoza right away?
That's a great question, because even though they went Geno Smith, if you go by the Raiders setup the last time, which was Pete Carroll as the head coach and then Chip Kelly, you would think that would set up for, young quarterback to come in and work with Chip.
Chip's
So
gone. Chip's
no,
gone
I
like a
know.
freight train.
No, but that's
I got
no,
you.
no, but I'm trying to think of like that old setup is kind of what you're talking about in a way. It's just refreshed with Brian Flores as the head coach versus Pete Carroll, who would be that offensive guy that would come in there. That would be interesting because when you're picking the OC, you're also picking the quarterback's coach. I mean, in essence. So you got to get the right guy for Mendoza. Hey, listen, look, I'm so impressed with Curt Cignetti that if I were the Raiders,
Wow.
if I were the Raiders, I would say, you know, I'm going to make you say no, right? Here's $15 million a year. Your quarterback is, we can draft your quarterback. You know, and if you're the Raiders, I mean, take a shot because that guy profiles differently.
I agree.
Like Dan Lanning, I love, but I wouldn't hire him for the NFL.
I agree.
Curt Cignetti feels more, Belichick and Saban like. But anyway, you know, the Jets are sitting there at number 2 overall. Arizona fired their coach. They got a little Calamari, but maybe they go a little Dante Moore and decide to, go with a little cup of stew versus having Calamari. And there you go, Tennessee. And then the Giants are in there at 5. That's the first of 2 first-round picks for Cleveland at number 6. So if they want to move around, they can kind of jack around a little bit. The Jets have 2 first-round picks. They'll screw them up. I mean, thank God the Jets decided to, you know, keep a lot of people around because with 2 first-round picks, they could actually be dangerous, but they won't be.
Unbelievable. All right, let's talk about the teams that are still alive. Let's get into the games and some of our Super Bowl picks.
Let me just ask you quickly, what is your gut feel right now, New England against the Chargers? When I say that, what comes to mind right away?
The reason that I'm pausing is because I have so much to say about this game in terms of, I hate to say it, but in terms of our picks, in terms of a lot of different components of this, but win, the one word that comes to my mind is win. I really believe in this Patriots team. I think we're going to have the opportunity to talk a lot about that game specifically. My confidence is through the roof. And what I'll tell you is that typically with the Patriots, I would be the guy, and I told Cody this on the pre-show, I'm the guy that's going to pick the other team. It's going to be like, I don't know, right? You heard me all season, early in the season, being like, they're a year away, until I decided to be objective and look what was in front of me. So what I'd love to do is start with the first game on Saturday, go through the games with you, get a feel for who you like, who we're sort of picking, and then on the back end, maybe we'll give you our best bet of the week.
I like it.
So the first game on the board, biggest spread of the week, Rams versus the Panthers. Rams minus 10.5. This game was played week 13. Carolina actually won that game, dominated time possession, 35 minutes time possession. Rams just 25 minutes. LA turned it over 3 times that day. Carolina didn't turn it over. You know, I think it's kind of a good spot for the Rams to get right here. You know, they've been 3-3 over their last 6, a little choppy. They were sort of that best. They're still the best team in the NFL, I feel like, for my money. Not having Devontae Adams the last few weeks, they just feel like a different team. Your thoughts on this game? Carolina have any shot?
No, I don't believe in their coach. I don't believe in their quarterback. It's really a matter of, will the Rams cover the number? I don't know if I'm looking at some notes here and seeing that, you know, it's rare that you get the double-digit underdog, or double-digit spreads in the playoffs, right? Normally, you might get up to 9 or something like that, but I think the odds makers are saying a lot by making the Rams a 10.5 point favorite right now, and I don't know if I'd be comfortable betting it, but if I had to, if someone told me you had to make the pick, I would go with the Rams minus 10 for one simple reason, Jay. I don't think Carolina can win the game. So I can't even, you know, if I don't think you have a chance to win the game, I don't know if I can necessarily ride you as an underdog. They're going to get wide receivers back. I just think this is a bad matchup for the Panthers, who are just lucky to be here.
I agree with that. You know, the Rams, who lost to the Eagles in the snow last season, the postseason, I've said over and over again, if that game was not in the snow, I think the Rams win the game. There is going to be some weather here. 74% chance of rain. It's going to be windy. Potentially that running game of Carolina could slow this thing down. Wouldn't shock me if they keep it within the number, but I agree with you. And, you know, Sean McVay, typically in week 18 when there's not necessarily a ton to play for, would rest his guys, has done that the last couple of years, didn't do it. They played their guys, gave Matthew Stafford a couple late touchdowns to sort of pad that MVP case. Don't even get me fucking started on that. But I just think LA wins here because I think they have a big plan. Is this LA team going to go from being the best team in football most of the season to out in the first round of the postseason? I just don't see it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. For the Rams, this is their first double-digit favorite in a playoff game since a matchup against the 49ers in 2023. And at least in terms of teams in this spot, hang on here. Teams have won 6 straight playoff games as double-digit favorites and are 12-1 over the last 15 postseasons. So, yeah, I mean, they tell you a team's going to blow doors. I think they are going to blow doors. I just don't think Jay, unless the Rams are just epically bad, like 4 interceptions, something, unless some crazy happens, I don't know how Carolina hangs.
I'm with you, and ultimately for me, the Carolina Panthers, right? This division, right? 8-9, you lose your last game, you back in, get out of here. I like the Rams. Hard for me not to want to tie them to some parlays, but the NFL will humble us all, you can be sure, and in no more place than in the sports book. That Saturday night game, man, this Packers-Bears game, fascinating for me. I've said over and over again that week 14 matchup where the Packers won, but in the second half, the Bears scored touchdowns on every possession. They were just moving it like crazy. And then Caleb Williams throws that pick 6 at the end of the game. Then there was a game where the Bears win in overtime in Chicago, week 16. So much familiarity. The Packers, punted, you can be sure. They knew they were going to get them in this spot. They haven't won a game since Micah Parsons got injured. The Bears play everyone last week, try to sort of retain that 2 seed, still retain it despite losing to the Lions. This game is a very difficult game for me to handicap despite having a little bit of a lean. Your thoughts in what is going to be a very windy Chicago potential?
Give me the Bears and all the points that I can get in this one. I think there's a bit of a long time trend that connects to Green Bay that I think will hold true. So the Packers are the 4th team in NFL history to make the playoffs despite losing their final 4 games of the regular season. The 86 Jets, and then they lost in the divisional round. The 24 Steelers, they lost in the wild card round. The 99 Lions, they lost their way in, lost in the wild card round. I think same thing's going to happen to Green Bay. They're beat up. They're dinged up. They don't have a difference maker on defense now. The Parsons is done. I think if Parsons were right and maybe the fortunes were a little different, I would talk myself into Green Bay. I just think they're on a slide they're not going to be able to pull out of. And while the Bears may win maybe by this much, if I'm getting points, I'm feeling pretty good about that. So I'm going on the Bears, Jay.
I agree. I like the Bears money line, and I'm not going to pay too much attention to them being the 2 seed. Obviously, they sort of crawled to the finish line, but I agree with you about the Packers. And the wind is a big factor for me. Jordan Love is at his best, in my opinion, when he's slinging it, when he's aggressive, when he's not afraid to throw an interception, and when he's almost overconfident. They won the game on Thanksgiving at Detroit, and he just had a lot of juice that day. And sometimes he doesn't appear that he cares that much, and he's been banged up. It's really interesting. Malik Willis. I've talked a lot about Malik Willis.
I know you like Malik Willis, yeah.
And I'm not alone. A lot of people agree. Dan Orlovsky put out a tweet the other day. He's going to make 45, 50 million next year. I really believe he's a unique player. No, it's not going to surprise me. Maybe over a couple of years, but I have some friends that are Jets fans. I'd be looking hard at Malik Willis. He brings an interesting element with the legs and an unpredictability. And some of that was caused by injury, but I am with you. I don't believe in this Packers team and the Bears team that ultimately did lose their last 2, but was really fortunate. And you talk about, maybe they'll just squeak by. That's sort of what I'm seeing here, that they find a way. But that Bears defense could be susceptible. Maybe it's not that windy. And I do think the Packers, if they can get through this game, who knows? They're at Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I think for Green Bay, they were giving up under 20 points a game with Parsons. Parsons got hurt in the last 4 weeks. That number went from 19 a game to 28.3. And I know there were some good teams in there, but it's crazy to say it, the Bears would count as a good team this year. They are the number 2 seed, and I just think it's more about the Packers defense. I have more faith that the Bears, who I don't love their defense at all, that the Bears can get a stop when it's 38-35, whereas the Packers won't. I think there'll probably end up being some points in this game, but I just don't know if Green Bay can get the big stop in the big spot. But Mike LaFleur or Matt LaFleur, whichever LaFleur going on, I know one might get a head coaching job, but LaFleur going on the road to Seattle would be a little juicy. I would say that. More juicy than the Bears.
So it seems like we both lean Bears. As we move on to Sunday, this Bills-Jaguars game, first on the board, Bills -1.5. It's just fascinating to me. I've had this narrative as the AFC playoffs were approaching that I would take the Bills over the field, right? Give me the Bills. You can have everybody else. Really, just because Josh Allen gets to be in this tournament without Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Joe Burrow. Obviously, there's more to it than the quarterback position. But, for the Bills, right? It's like, don't you think maybe they would have preferred the Patriots here? Like Jacksonville, man. Jacksonville, for me, they may be the best team in the AFC. As a Patriots fan, I think the Patriots are pretty damn good, maybe better than a lot of people think, but I'm not so sure the Patriots are better than this Jacksonville team, right? I think this could be a very close game. I think the AFC champion very well could come out of this game.
Well, I think no, I was going to say, I think you and I would agree. Jacksonville has the best offense in the AFC in the playoffs. I mean, there's always Josh Allen, but in terms of everything, in terms of a complete package, Jacksonville probably has the best offense. To your point, that's what makes it tough for Buffalo is Josh Allen might have to score 38 to win this game because of that Jacksonville offense. Go ahead. I know I jumped in.
No, I'm with you. And, we've talked about Trevor Lawrence, right? And it was 6-7 short weeks ago that I was like, all right, if I'm the Jaguars, I'm giving up on Trevor Lawrence, turning it over multiple times every week. I'm betting on him to throw an interception every week. And that was the time when that switch in his brain from Liam Cohen injecting it finally clicked. And what Liam Cohen has done for the confidence of Trevor Lawrence and allow him to play free and use his skills. We haven't seen it for the first few years. And so I think the reason I think Liam Cohen is on Mike Vrabel's heels for coach of the year is because I think he might make more magic in this postseason tournament, believe it or not. Jacksonville, best rushing defense in football. Bills, 5th from the bottom in terms of rushing defense. I just think the Jacksonville Jaguars more deeper, more talented. I think Josh Allen's going to explode. I think it's great that they rested him last week, but they didn't rest everybody, the Bills, Sean McDermott. The team's a little bit banged up. This is a fascinating game. If anybody has a coin, flip it. But the idea that the Bills are just going to get through Jacksonville, I think it's a brutally tough first matchup for this Buffalo team.
I would agree with you. And I think for Buffalo, there are a lot of numbers that point to who are the guys that help Josh Allen the most. One of them was a little limited in practice yesterday, Dalton Kincaid. But if you look at when Kincaid's in there, the Bills are 10-2. And Josh Allen has a 73 QBR when Kincaid plays this season. He has a 45 QBR when he doesn't. So a lot of people look at James Cook, and yep, they got to be able to run the ball to be able to win. They got to possess it a little bit. But I think the tight ends are what really make the magic in Buffalo. And if Jacksonville can find a way to gobble those tight ends up in the red area, it will be tough, like you said, Jay, for Josh Allen, not only to score, but I think this might turn into a game where the Bills are going to have to keep up, right? Like we know the Bills defense are going to give it up to Jacksonville at least a little bit, but does Buffalo go blow for blow with them? Or does it turn into what happened in New England? They get down 31-10, and then Allen's got to go, hey, I'm Superman, and go do what he normally does.
Yeah, that Buffalo defense, right? It's like Jordan Phillips, right? Suited up against the Jets and injured again and now placed on IR. It's like Sean McDermott, with respect. What are we doing here with very little to gain? And knowing that your road is going to be tough. So while I really loved the Bills as this postseason approached, I'm not so sure I like this particular matchup, right? If they were facing any other team here, I might really like Buffalo, but I can't look past what the Jaguars have done. And I understand Texans won 9 straight, right? Was Jacksonville won 8 straight? I mean, they're hot.
Well, here's the thing. The top pass defense, this was 2025. So listen to this one. Third matchup in the Super Bowl era to feature the NFL's top pass defense and the top run defense. Jaguars are the best against the run. Somehow the Bills are the best in the league against the pass. I don't understand that at all. And when it's happened previously before, it's been split. Now the game is very different. Here's my problem with the Jaguars have a great run defense, but they're dealing with Josh Allen. Like, Jay, that keeps coming back to me, right? Like, can the Jags slow down Cook? I think they can. But can they slow down Cook and Allen? This is one where I wonder, like, I haven't looked at the Josh Allen rush props. I don't know where they're at necessarily, but this feels like a 50-plus yard rush game for Josh Allen, even if they lose.
I love it. All right, let's move on. 49ers, Eagles. Minus 4.5. It is just fascinating what a difference a week makes for the San Francisco 49ers. Instead of potentially, if you beat Seattle, you're the number 1 seed and the Super Bowl is in your hometown. Now I think you're one and done. I think Seattle laid out a beautiful blueprint for Philadelphia. You know, San Francisco is averaging over 42 points per game in the 3 weeks prior to last week. Seattle holds them to 3. It was just masterful. Philly's has spots on offense where they sort of disappear. So maybe if San Francisco can get it going, they certainly can put up some points. But I love Philly in this spot. San Francisco's super banged up. And I think even if San Francisco commits to the run and is able to sort of neutralize Barkley, I think Hurts is a different player in the postseason. I like Philly a lot here, man.
I hate to say you're right, but if I were leaning right now, if I had to pick now, I'm going Philadelphia minus the points. And I think we've talked about this with the Niners. The injuries are the mitigating factor here. Trent Williams goes down, you lose your left tackle. That's and especially a player like that. I think my hesitation here, Jay, is, and we talked about this during the year, Philly will create their own drama. Do they pull themselves out of it? Is this a Philadelphia team that is right enough for them to be able to make it back to the Super Bowl? Because I don't think this has ever been it's never Camp Tranquilo down there, right? They're not all hugging each other all the time. They're probably representative of Philadelphia. At times it's a little nasty. The coach is yelling at fans or pushing a defensive line coach like he did last year. They're an interesting bunch. But goddamn, if they're right, it's hard not to think that they can't make a run. And that's what I keep coming back to. I really like San Francisco. I wish it were 2.5 instead of 4.5. You know what I mean? Give me under the field goal. I'd feel a little better. But yeah, I think Philly ends up winning this one. San Fran's just beat to hell. I just wish I had a better handle on which Philadelphia. Like, is the Philadelphia going to show up that has Saquon Barkley on his average of about 127 scrimmage yards per game? Or are they going to be the team that's dicking around, that can't run the ball, who's bickering on the sideline?
Yeah. In terms of the point spread, I hear you. That 4.5, jumps off the page for me, but just hard for me to envision waking up Monday morning with San Francisco having moved on and defeated the defending champs. I just don't see it. What I'm going to do right now, I want to skip the Chargers Patriots. Let's quickly touch on that Monday night game, January 12th, and then finish up with the boys from Boston. So Monday night, Texans -3, -3.5, seeing it different places at the Steelers. Steelers, that game Sunday night to finish the year against Baltimore was absolutely insane. So Texans go from 3-5 to 12-5, close the season on a 9-game winning streak. But I think be careful with that team playing with house money in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers. That Achilles getting better every day. I think Mike Tomlin's going to have these guys motivated as a home dog. The Texans were the team that correct me if I'm wrong, you were the team, that was the team you wanted the Patriots to face the most. You were most confident against the Texans due to some of the offensive line issues and just bad offense all around. Whereas the Texans were the team that I kind of feared the most, given the Patriots offensive line scares me. And I ultimately believe that Texans defensive front could cause a lot of problems for the Patriots. But it evolves, right? And so now the Texans, you're facing Pittsburgh, DK Metcalf back. I think Kenneth Gainwell is going to be a big factor in this game if Pittsburgh were to win. Pittsburgh's got a defense themselves playing a little bit better. Where are you going in this football game? Any wagers, any leans?
I like the Steelers and the points here. There's a couple underdogs that I'm on, and the Steelers are one of them. These are two teams who love to use the heavy personnel, right? They're among the top 5 in the league, along with the Patriots, of going with that 6th offensive lineman and going with some beef in there, right? I do wonder about Stroud outdoors, and this is why you got Aaron Rodgers. Jay, think of this, okay? You and I have followed New England football for 25 years. And in the time that Ben Roethlisberger was with the Steelers, I think you respected him, but you never really feared the guy, right? I never went into a Steeler game thinking, I would go in thinking Ben will take a beating, but he'll throw 3 touchdowns and give you 2 picks. There isn't that, fine point to his quarterback play. If Rodgers is right, Andy's getting DK back. There's a guy on the other side for the Houston Texans who can make all the throws. You protect him, he can sling it. He's not going to run around the way he used to, but it's like Brady. Keep him in the pocket, protect him. He'll make a read, he'll sling it. I'm with you. Tomlin will have him ready. There's a lot of unrest in Pittsburgh. The Yinzers are all pissed off, or as the guy in Sewickley from the McAfee show would say, some people are bummed out. They're bummed out that they can't get rid of Mike Tomlin, and they won the division again. But I think this is the one where Tomlin, like he did the Derek Lewis Black Beast going on. Yeah, did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, this time he's just going to go, fuck you, after winning that game, and he should.
Seems we are very much aligned. If forced to sort of pick these games, both seem to be leaning Steelers. All right, let's go back to Sunday Night Football. Chargers versus the Patriots. My mother wishes it wasn't a night game. Sorry, Mom. But Gresh, the reason that I paused when you asked me about the Patriots earlier, and you just mentioned we've both been following this team for 25 years, more like 40 for both of us, for real.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Right. So,
yep.
And my confidence in this team is so high right now. I'm really trying to curb my enthusiasm, right? Last week, they get Will Campbell, Milton Williams back, right? Number 97 is a fucking superstar. He was the prized offseason free agent last season. He pops off the television in a dramatic way, even if his statistics don't. He makes a profound difference on this team. The red zone defense concerns me greatly for the Patriots. Maybe not so much in this particular matchup with the Chargers, but really overall, 30th in the league, 67.5%, not good. The Chargers can defend the pass, right? They beat the Eagles a few weeks back, picked off Jalen Hurts 4 times. They have some moments. I just can't see LA coming in on a cold night, right, and getting this done in Foxborough. When I saw the line, I was surprised, Gresh. I thought the Patriots I had 5.5. I couldn't be more confident in the Patriots to win this football game, Gresh. I am surprised I'm saying it. I'm not a super superstitious guy, right? I don't believe my words putting into the atmosphere are going to have any impact on this football game, but I am going to be shocked if the Patriots don't win this football game. I'm going to be shocked if they don't make a run in this postseason. I don't think the Chargers are nearly as good as the Patriots. They're not healthy. That offensive line, even if healthy, is not healthy because they're missing a couple starters. Omari and Hampton still questionable. I don't think they have enough for this New England team, Greg.
I would agree with you. I think offensively they don't have enough. And the fact that they're playing with 2 backup tackles, New England's just going to attack the hell out of that and try to get Herbert off the spot, because when you put replacement players in at tackle, your starters become better players themselves. And what happens to Herbert? You pressure him off the edge, he's going to run right into Milt Williams. Like you said, Big Milt I thought he was great against Miami. Miami didn't want none. Like, seriously, Miami didn't want none of him inside. And it was good that they let him sit. I wanted to see a little bit of him the week before, but god dang, he's all right. I know they're getting Spillane back. I don't love Spillane. I think the Chargers are going to play a lot of 3 wide because I don't know how much they really truly rely on the tight end. They're going to have to gimmick it up. Maybe they go with a 6 offensive lineman at times to help in protection. But at the end of the day, New England should be able to win some one-on-one battles on the defensive line. And then offensively, then again, just be what you are, right? Spread the ball around, run it with both backs. I think if both backs have settled into, roles that the team is comfortable with, and both guys can run in different ways behind the same offensive line. A little more power and combo blocking stuff maybe for Ramondre. We're a little more outside zone every once in a while, but you have an O-line versatile enough to be able to do it. Both backs should be able to eat. I think the tight ends are going to eat big. I like Hunter Henry props going into this game. I just think there's opportunities for, maybe 2 touchdowns for Henry when it's all said and done. And Jay, I kind of feel like you, like, I don't want to be like a puppy with 2 Peters right now, but I can't help it. There's one in and there's one hump in the air because they're just so excited for this particular game and this particular matchup. Not having those tackles are absolutely huge.
And I will say it's impossible to ingest unless you're going to watch, the all 22 on all plays and all these NFL games. But we watch the Patriots very closely. And I do feel as though a lot of the national media does not. And the strength of schedule component, well, they beat all these teams 40-10 that sucked. So, you know what I mean? They weren't just battling, right? I've said ad nauseum, the Denver Broncos should be 10-7. The team that fears me, that I'm scared the least of in this whole postseason in the AFC is the Denver Broncos, the number 1 seed. Now, the Patriots, I think historically are 0-3 in Denver in the postseason on the road. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. But Gresh, I believe this Patriots has a great chance to win the Super Bowl, win the whole thing, get into the Final Four, as you said. My big question, Jaden Daniels gets this Commanders team into the Final Four last year, and now Caleb Williams and Drake May have an opportunity, right? Both as 2 seeds in their respective conferences, and these are the top 3 quarterbacks in that draft a couple years back. And I'm interested to see how Caleb Williams and Drake May perform in the postseason. I haven't watched Caleb as closely. I think they're both potentially going to have what it takes to elevate their game in the postseason, or not have the moment be too big for them. What are your thoughts on Drake May, sort of in his first NFL postseason appearance?
Well, I think he kind of jumped over a big hurdle, which was towards the end of the regular season, teams stopped blitzing as much. It was, we're going to rush with 4 and we're going to make the kid read the defense. And there were times where there were some issues, but overall, I think Drake May and this offense has kind of jumped over that hurdle. Part of the reason I bring it up, Jay, is because Drake May and Justin Herbert are 1 and 2 respectively this season in QBR when blitzed. May had a 90 QBR, Herbert 86. Now the Patriots blitz the 11th highest rate in the NFL. The Chargers are the 4th lowest. So it's good that Drake May ended up having a couple bumps in the road along the way against, Buffalo. They stopped blitzing in that second half, and that's where I think May kind of learned that hard lesson, and McDaniels has been able to kind of coach him through it. That gives me great confidence that Drake May is going to look like the same guy he has all year. Now, I think here's the problem for people. To your point, if you're not watching, then the numbers for Drake May don't blow you away, right? Like, it's not Matt Stafford numbers. It's not 300 yards every week and stuff like that.
Unless you look at the real advanced analytics, then they all look good. Go ahead.
But if you're Drake May and you throw for 225 and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions and you win the game, 42-21, what do we need Drake May to be? We need Drake May to be what he was. I mean, there you go. Like, right. If I know that Drake May in the playoffs is going to give me a 75% completion percentage on 225 yards, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, New England's probably going to go pretty far. Now, I know for some people it's, oh my God, the quarterback doesn't throw over 300 yards. How in the world are they going to win? No, Drake May doesn't have to be something that he doesn't. Just don't be Justin effing Herbert, who has these regular seasons and is 0-2 and throws 4 interceptions in the postseason. That's the thing, Jay. I think people look at it and say, oh, how much more can they give? Go, Drake, just be what you were during the regular season and everything will take care of itself and they'll win this game.
I totally agree. And for all the people that sort of hate on the Patriots, which there are a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
They lose week 1 to the Raiders, who have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, right? They lose week 3 to the Steelers to go to 1-2, turn it over all day, dominated the Steelers, frankly, should have won that game.
Correct.
So they go to 1-2. And then their only other loss of the season is when they go up 21-0 against the Buffalo Bills and sort of blow that one. It's like,
right.
I believe the Patriots. Right. And look, credit to Buffalo, but I believe some fans can be, and media, a little bit results driven in terms of, Bills got the Patriots last time. Well, when they come back to Foxborough, the only chance these two teams meet again is if it's in the AFC Championship, as you alluded to before. For my money, the Patriots are the best team in the AFC, maybe Jacksonville on their heels. But they proved it with Buffalo in the divisional record and everything they accomplished. So, yes, do I think Buffalo could catch anybody in the postseason? Yes, but I believe the Patriots are the class of the AFC. So why am I going to pick against them? For one reason, because they face an easy schedule? No fucking way.
No, and the schedule thing, listen, it's bunk. We can look 3 years down the road at who's going to have maybe an easy schedule because how certain divisions are projecting, and there's a little playoff predictor right there. And I mean, Denver doesn't blow anybody away. You know what's interesting, Jay? I think if Sean Payton had Drake May versus Bo Nix, Payton would run a little bit of a different offense. I think if you put Drake May on Denver, they're going to the Super Bowl. In part because the play caller will say, oh, I got a dude, and I got somebody who's not going to be irresponsible and turn it over, right? Like that could end up being, if New England ends up in Denver, that can end up being the real difference maker in it, where their quarterback might go 20 of 30 for 300 yards, but he'll throw 3 tuds and 2 picks. Whereas our guy might get to 250 with 2 tuds and no picks, and I'd take that all day long, because that's winning football at the end of the day. The turnovers become absolutely paramount. I'd rather have a quarterback throw for under 200 yards and protect the football than be reckless and have him throw for 300 and turn the ball over twice.
Right. And you can be sure they're not dinking and dunking with Drake May. All right. So we both like the Patriots. So quickly, I'm going to just get to the picks. And for those of you joining us, we appreciate you joining us on Gas Morning Drive. We did 3 picks against the spread for our podium picks starting week 7. It ended last week, and very fitting, Gresh, that you went 3-0. You finished the year 24-12 picking against the spread on our show. Absolutely amazing. I was 19-15-2. I hit my gold medal pick last week, is what it is. The punishment for me for this is a power hour where I take a shot of beer every minute for an hour on the show. I couldn't do that today given the time of it, but we need to schedule a show, and I will do that at some point. So congratulations. Great job. And we both, if anyone that was tailing us did pretty well down the stretch, you can be sure. So Gresh, what I'd like to do now is I think we're going to each give out a pick for this weekend.
Okay.
And then I think I'd like to pick our conference champions and Super Bowl champion. And what I'll say before that is, as I sit here right now, I don't know the name of the team that I'm going to spit out for my Super Bowl champion as of this moment right now, even though I do know the AFC and the NFC. So Gresh, gold medal pick. What do you got? Oh, I'm going to go first. Let me go first. Go first because it just makes more sense for us to stay on topic.
Mm-hmm.
Gresh, my only pick this week, it's the Patriots minus 185. I'm not going to lay the 3.5. Patriots going to win this game, Gresh. I'm going to be so surprised if the Patriots don't win this game. It's not going to surprise me if they, to use your phrase, blow doors and blow the Chargers out of the building. Because I put this in the atmosphere, I'll probably be wrong, and this 7-seed Chargers team are going to come in and beat the Patriots. But I believe that if there were 2 buys and the 1 and 2 seed both got buys, that a lot of people would be talking about this Patriots team in the same conversation with the Broncos. It's like you put yourself in this 1 seed. I understand you get a W in the wild card weekend if you're the Broncos without even playing a game. I get it, but I was hoping the Chargers were coming to town. I just don't see any way they take care of the Patriots. I love the Patriots this weekend, Gresh.
You know what? I do too. However, I'm not going to tail in the best interest of giving the people what they want, which is picks. And Cody, I'm sorry I didn't mention this to you earlier, but give me the Bears plus 1.5. I mean, I'm taking the points, and they're plus 100 on the money line too. I think there's some flexibility there, Jay, like you mentioned, if you're going to parlay up some stuff because – or maybe you want to mess around with, the Rams in a teaser or something like that. I think the Bears are going to win the game outright. I just have no faith that Green Bay defensively are going to be able to hold up. And I'm not a big Bears fan. I'm not a huge fan of this football team. I think let's see how the great alleged Ben Johnson does in this moment. But I mean, you're going to give me points, and I just think the Bears beat the Packers. I have no faith in the Packers. Packers defense, No.
I totally agree with you. All right, Gresh, it's time. Let's start with the National Football Conference. And you don't need to get into any more detail than you want to, but you can. Who's your NFC champion?
I think the way it sets up, I'm going to go Seattle.
Fair.
And I'm not completely sold on them, but in the end, like, look, the Rams this week play a terrible opponent. I am firmly on the Rams are soft, and ultimately it will catch up to them before an NFC championship game. So that said, I would go Seattle, and I am very, very, very torn on the AFC pick.
Right. So
torn.
Sam Darnold is your NFC pick, just to remind you. I know,
God,
right?
I know.
So if Philly wins, as we think they're going to, and we both like Chicago, then you're getting Philadelphia at Chicago next week and LA at Seattle.
And I'll tell you, man,
it all comes crumbling. So I believe
Philly.
the NFC champion, I have to stay true to what I felt all year, that the Rams are the best team in football. I believe they have a great coach to lead them to his third Super Bowl appearance. I like LA to come out of the NFC. And I think this bracket shapes up very well for them, with the idea that they could potentially avoid Philadelphia until the conference championship game. And perhaps they're going to Chicago, which I would like even more. So
right.
LA, my NFC champion. Shifting over to the AFC. Who do you like? And this is objective. I know why.
I know. Because something. Jesus. Do I want to? No. I'm doing the whole like head heart thing, stuff like that.
I'm glad you said head heart thing,
because
this is all head for me today. Go ahead.
I still think Buffalo finds a way to get there. Like that, and I know we're not that fucking guy. Like, I just keep coming back to it that until Josh Allen has been slayed by another AFC dragon like Drake May or the rise of Jacksonville or something like that, I just can't count those assholes out. I really, and I hate it because I hate Buffalo. Their fans have found my phone number and cursed me, said mean things to me, but I also just can't get behind Denver. I feel like Denver is a 1 seed that's getting beat in the divisional round, and that's why I got Buffalo.
Well, isn't it so funny that the Seahawks and the Broncos could be facing the Rams and Bills, respectively, after having a bye? It's bananas. Yeah. And so, Gresh, ultimately, that does mean that you lean Buffalo probably this weekend at Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah. I think Jacksonville, nice season, good year. Now you're going to find out you're still a virgin. I'm not saying that Ryan Khalil's walking in the door, but you're still going to find out that you're a playoff virgin.
You know, I like that you said head versus heart, and I've tried to be as objective as possible. And I did a show last night, Last Man Standing, a Survivor. We're doing a little playoff bracket, and I just have to be honest with myself. And I think the New England Patriots are winning the AFC championship. I think they're the class of the AFC. I do believe if Jacksonville gets through Buffalo, that they could be a real fly in the ointment. I'd much rather see Jacksonville out of this bracket if I'm the New England Patriots. But I think the Patriots win the AFC. I think they have all the pieces to do so. I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but Julian Edelman said recently the Patriots are a draft away. Okay, that to me is a little bit, like I don't even know how to quantify something like that.
Well, but was he saying that in the context of being a true championship contender? Like the way he would have been used to. That's how I took it, is that they're one more draft away from being able to have a fourth corner that you can count on, or a middle linebacker who can actually make tackles and stuff like that. That's the way I took it from Jules, was that they're close, but they need one more good draft, a couple more O-linemen too.
And so my point is, the reason that I slightly disagree with that is because I don't think they're close. I actually think they're there. And I think the draft last year was so good on so many levels that I think it's sort of that so many things went right for this team to put themselves in this position. And ultimately, I think they have a great chance to get to the Super Bowl. And it's hard for me to look at any of these other teams. And as a betting man, if you're sticking a gun to my head and you're asking me to pick my AFC champion, I'm going down with Mike Vrabel.
Well, and the reason I'm not as afraid of Jacksonville is my friend Liam Cohen. Because you're giving me Vrabel against a guy who's just getting there for the first time as a head man. Okay, I think there is an advantage there. I feel like it's going to be Buffalo in Gillette Stadium for an AFC championship game because there's no way New England loses to Pittsburgh, I don't think. Now, I said that earlier in the year, and Pittsburgh ended up beating them, but New England played maybe their worst game of the year with the turnovers. So I think when you level that up, and I think New England ends up getting them that second time around, and then there's Buffalo. And you know what, Jay, like you said earlier, it's the whole, hey, you feel fortunate that you dodged them, at least with the way the bracket is set up. If you get Buffalo in an AFC championship game, then it's just a, battle for survival. And I do think that I kind of agree with Edelman a little bit in that I think the deeper this team goes, some of the stuff that needs to happen in the offseason will start to show up. Like, I have no faith in Garrett Bradbury at all. I think he's a shit center. I think he's soft. I think he gets pushed around. And that's a guy I worry about the deeper you get into the playoffs. I worry about the edge players against the run as we get deeper in the playoffs. Let me give you another one. Robert Spillane. Please, God, New England, find a real middle linebacker in the draft coming up next year. And that's where I wonder if Edelman was kind of fine pointing, hey, you have another draft where you get a second round center, you get a starting middle linebacker, you add yourself another corner, and the next thing you know, you've upgraded the pieces that you need to kind of beat these people. And I'm not going to be one that will sit here and say, oh, they went to the AFC title game, that's okay. When you're that close, you want to get there. But I do think there are flaws on this football team that could end up showing up in a moment like that because you're going against somebody who's been there and done that. Their hand is stamped.
That's fair. And I think there's a reason why we put the NFC on a pedestal this year. And ultimately, I do believe part of the reason I believe the Patriots can win the AFC is that I think even some of those holes, I think all the AFC teams have holes. I believe if the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl, where I guess I sort of think they're going to arrive, I think there are three teams that if they face, I really don't like them against. And it's Seattle, Philadelphia, and the LA Rams. I think anyone else, they'd have a good shot. I think if Chicago makes some run and gets a Super Bowl, I think Patriots got a shot there. But I think Seattle, Philadelphia, I think those would be pretty tough. And the LA Rams were the team I picked to win the NFC, and that's going to be my Super Bowl champion, Gresh. I just think the Rams have the right path. I don't think being on the road matters, not much home field in LA. And I think ultimately, whoever they face from the AFC, I just think they will be the better team that day.
What will also be really interesting to me is kind of, who pulls the big upset, who shakes up the bracket. Right. Yes. We know there's one coming in the wild card round and there's one coming in the divisional round. And then it's how do you react? Who gets reseeded? Who ends up with an extra home game? Maybe that's where going for it in the last week of the regular season really matters. Because if Buffalo goes to Denver and pops them, Buffalo's coming in here because Mike Vrabel decided to finish the mission. And here's the thing. The New England Patriots were arguably team 28 of 32 last year. Fair? They were like, so of 32 teams, you could argue they were 28th. At worst, if you and I are correct, they're 4. So think of that leap from literally the bottom of the league to the top of the league in 1 year. And it makes you stop and say, holy shit, what kind of year did we just watch? And I think when you put it like, we don't think of it in that context, Jay, but when you do, you're like, hot damn, what a season they've had.
Absolutely. And Gresh, what I'll say is when we did our win-loss record for the Patriots together, that we came up with 10-7 for the beginning of the year, I was throwing losses at them that I didn't necessarily believe. If I had been honest in that moment, because we knew the schedule was soft, I might have actually arrived at 12-5. I'm not even kidding, because I definitely believed. We saw a lot with Drake last year. We knew they were going to be pretty good. So for me, as the season's gone along, I've just been more and more honest with myself. And yeah, there are moments. Drake May's had some really bad moments this year, believe it or not, but I believe in them wholeheartedly. I think a lot of things, even having your best O lineman, your best D lineman both get hurt, but avoid missing the postseason. I think a lot of things going right.
They didn't collapse. Like, they didn't lose a couple of guys. And I mean, I know it's one big player, but Green Bay's defense has completely collapsed after losing Parsons, and New England didn't do that. The preseason predictor, our guy Cody Bone Marrow is all over the graphics and the Excel spreadsheets and things like that. Now, can I break? I probably am not breaking a tad bit of news to you, but let me say, I think you're chuckling because you know where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
There will be an Anik in the house on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. I have made contact with John. I ended up, an extra ticket from the club area, fell into our lap this week, so I had a fifth. 2 went to a family friend's, and it was my wife and I go, she was like, oh, should I grab this extra ticket? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, because I'll text John. He got back to me faster than ever. We've already made contact. He's going to ride up with me. My TV is early in the day, so listen to this. I'm gonna go to Gillette on Sunday. I'm going to tape TV. I will drive back home, where then he's going to come here, and because I told him,
does he know you're doing that?
Oh yeah. Home? Oh no, I don't think so, but he doesn't need to. But I told him, I said, if you're coming with us, you have to experience the parking pass. That's the whole point of the club. You're literally pulling up to the door where you go up the escalators and then you're rocking out. So I'm geeked to accept it. It's going to be fun. I know that it'd be a plane ride for you. So,
oh, dude, well, thank you so much, for inviting him. And what I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, if you had told me John would have an opportunity to go to Foxborough to go to the Patriots game this weekend, I would have told you, no way he goes. No way he goes. Knowing my brother the way I do, right? A couple weeks out for a UFC event, right? So what I want, that if you want to know how John feels about you, the fact that he accepted, because we all know how good of a product the NFL is on TV. Right? It's not like he lives in your backyard, couple hour drive, but I love that he fucking is doing it. I love that you asked him, and I'm just thrilled because I know you through him, et cetera, et cetera. But thank you so much on behalf of him publicly. I'm fucking so excited about that.
Oh, dude, it's dope. I'm geeked, and I have no tickets from my boy. So my youngest is in Ireland right now. So
wow.
my youngest goes back to Pitt. He's got to drive back to Pitt on Sunday. So he's driving back and missing the game. And the guy that he would love to sit beside for an hour before a game is going to be with me when I'm sending him photos, needling my kid, that John is with me and that he's like driving home or whatever, but he's all. So, my kid in Ireland gets back tomorrow. Him and his friends just said, hey, let's go over for a week. And so my 21-year-old and I think like 4 of his friends, they all got on a plane last Friday, and they all just went over to Ireland to go hang out and stuff like that. It's pretty.
That's how you live your life. Good shit.
Yeah, he's he deserves it. He's a good kid. The other one, the caddy in Florida, he thinks he's coming. He thinks he's getting a flight back home for an AFC Championship game. I'm not kidding. When I took him to the airport, he very firmly, Connor says to me, my oldest, he goes, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And I go, why? He goes, I'm going to be back for an AFC Championship game. And I'm like, oh, really? Are you really? I wanted to say, all right, you're paying for it. Right. But you know what? That's the thing, is they get older and they work and they got dough themselves. I can't do the whole, well, all right, then you pay for it, because they'll be like, all right, fine, I'm going. And the next thing you know, I got, my oldest is back home I'm going to fly in on a Saturday and then I'll leave on early Monday morning. Like because he wants to be where they, like, it's crazy. My oldest has been to 5 Super Bowls and he's 24 years old. It's nutty. Yeah. Like, they're so spoiled.
I love it.
But they love it. And the oldest got a Drake May jersey for Christmas. He was all jacked up.
Dude,
listen, speaking of getting jacked up, that's what we were. We've gone massively long today. Our guy Bone Marrow, we're cutting into his time where he's handicapping, and I would say the biggest winner in the picks contest is not you or I. I would dare say it's Cody Marrow.
Because he was
smart enough, I do believe, at various times to package our shit together.
But Gresh, finally, I'll just say, like, you were hot all season, but the last week when you went 3-0, just taking all those big favorites, and the one favorite that you didn't take, the Houston Texans double-digit favorite, didn't cover the spread. So, and had a little bit less to play for and shut down their starters. So, masterful play of the board without overthinking it last weekend.
Well, you're a very kind friend, and I love doing this show. I love the picks. You'll pay off your whatnot a little bit later on. We'll get that scheduled. It'll be fun. And I'll send you lots of pictures.
Love it. Thank you, Cody.
All right.
Feel better, buddy.
Cody, you're the best. Feel better. That's it for us. We'll see you next week here, Gresh Anik Show.